Hello, I am Mudita, and welcome back to Satisfactory. This is my 1.0 playthrough where I attempt to load balance all of my factories. For some reason, this is what I call fun. In the last episode, I automated all the electronic parts that are currently available to me. In this video, I'm going to make the parts for the space elevator. While those are being made, I'm going to polish up the factory a little and give you a tour. And here we are in my spare room where I do all of my temporary setups. With the storage right next door, it makes this pretty convenient. So let me show you what I've done. These right here are already all backed up of my versatile frameworks, and I believe that means that we are completely full. So I need 2,500, there's 24, and each of these have basically 50 in them. So we're good to go there. These are making smart plating, which are going into a container and then being fed into this manufacturer for modular engines. I did go ahead and use all the power shards and sumersloops for these because, well, only having to use half the materials is just nice. And just such a huge game changer. Ah, man, that's so great. So, and then back here, we've got this assembler making the automated wiring, which is then being fed into a manufacturer that apparently I didn't. I think I actually ran out of spare sumersloops. But the way that this one works out, since we only need 100 and most of these are kind of like higher end items, I really didn't need that much, and I've got tons of heavy modular frames. I think I just needed to wait a couple minutes for enough computers, but this will be done in no time. So let's go outside and let me show you what I'm doing. Now that I have pretty much all of the parts up to now automated, there's still one or two extras, but I pulled out all of the things that I don't have automated, which was mainly like the reanimated SAM and black powder and stuff like that. So those I have stored in containers inside, and now I'm finally getting rid of everything. So this is the one time that I'll just allow myself to just randomly clip through things. It's when I'm placing down 20 sinks and trying to get rid of just thousands of material all at once. So I completely understand if this is just horrifying. But part of the reason is it just makes me want to delete it all faster. I can't let all this stuff go to waste. I need my trophies. Let me clean this stuff up and polish up the base a little bit. And let's take a tour and see what I've done. Let's start the tour with my first permanent factory, coal power. This is using 2 normal and 1 impure node for a total of 700 coal. This is producing 3,450 megawatts of power. I also added 100 power storage units here to give me a backup battery storage of 10,000 megawatts. And this was enough to get me to the current phase. The next major addition was my first oil power plant. This is using 2 normal nodes overclocked to 270 each to give me a total of 540 crude oil per minute. I'm using some of the best alternate recipes in the game to maximize that crude oil. The heavy oil residue and diluted packaged fuel allows me to turn this into 1,440 fuel per minute, which in turn fuels the 48 fuel generators that are overclocked to 150%. This factory generates 18,000 megawatts, which is currently the bulk of my power. Staying out here in the Spire Coast, I added this oil product factory and a half-finished train station. This feeds the main factory by train with 140 plastic, 405 rubber, 10 fabric, 90 packaged fuel, and 225 packaged turbo fuel. I needed to make this in 2 stages. The first one was just making the rubber. I needed this for the concrete recipe I chose to use, and I'll show that off soon. The second half required empty canisters and compacted coal to be made at the main factory and sent here to get up and running. This little factory produces all of the parts I need to get the current parts automated in the main factory. And a little bit of preparing for the future. Now, let's take a look at the home base. In my last playthrough, I did a very modular world with tower factories everywhere. It was a great way to break everything down into bite-sized parts. I wanted to do something a little different with this one. I don't think my PC could handle a true mega factory where absolutely everything is being made in just one place. But I do like the idea, and being able to bring all the resources into this factory has been pretty nice. This is the first and main factory where I'm making most parts that will feed my storage and dimensional depots. However, down the road, things like aluminum are definitely going to have their own large factory. I still find all the logistics a fun problem to solve. I spent a lot of time fixing up the factory. However, the train station still needs some love. I currently have 2 alien augmenters providing some bonus power, along with just looking really cool. Currently, the factory has 3 levels. This bottom section is where all the belt buses enter, and I do some of the load balancing. This location is great because of the great view of the waterfall and the access to the decent amount of water below and above. This second floor has the hub, storage, and is largely smelting. The third floor is where the ingots go and become something useful. I know I probably didn't include every single part of the factory with all the stats for the inputs and outputs, so I apologize for that, but didn't want to make it too long. If you do want to see any more of them, I've got pretty much an episode for each different room and each different part of the factory. And I go through how I load balance things and the recipes in a little bit more detail in each of those episodes, so if that sounds interesting, please feel free to check that out. So this is my heavy modular frames. This is the one room where I decided to switch up the lighting. If I went with my normal lighting, I think they were going to run into the manufacturers. So I wanted to try something else. I really want the wall lights to work, but I'm not completely sold on them. I still have one last pretty big open space here on this floor, and then I'm going to have to go up. And then here comes the last part. So this is basically kind of all one giant room. The very bottom floor, and let's just go ahead and go down. This is where all of the items come into storage. So here is our huge hallway, and the way I've divided this up is going down this direction. Oh, it's a little hard to see if we zoom in all the way. You can't see the items on all the lifts. Well, this is where all of the ingots are going up. Whereas if we look left, this is where all of the finished products are coming down. And that way I could kind of keep things going in one direction for the most part and hopefully cut down on a little bit of the craziness. Although obviously I'm putting a lot of belts through here, so it is getting a little crazy. And a lot of the items that are finished are coming through here on the top, and that way when I'm walking above it on the glass, I can see all the items. Sort of. The reflection doesn't make it great. But this is where all of the items are coming into the storage. And with this one over here is where I'm using the sushi belt for my electronics. And so from here, all of these items just come up to these lifts and then into some smart splitters. Smart splitters are set so any is forward, overflow is to the right. So as we can see, when all those storage containers back up, they just end up going into some sinks. So everything can continuously flow. So we've got 4 storage containers and 3 of them are basically all connected to this lift. The very last one is the one facing the storage like hallway basically that I have. But these 3 right here are the more important ones, to be honest, because these 3 are feeding all of my dimensional depots. As you can see right here, we've got a nice little hallway of just a whole bunch of dimensional depots and just about all the different parts. Right now I only have 2 feeding concrete. In the future I probably want more, just because some of these projects really start using a lot. And so above this is our hallway that we were just in. This is where all of the projects are being manufactured for the most part. And we can see our dimensional depots looking down, sort of. That was the idea anyway. And if we take our hypertube to the end, I wish there was like a gate door that I could use. Ooh, 1 piece of sand ore. And I really want to make a hypertube. I just haven't figured out quite how I want this to look. So in the meantime, in case I'm over here and I needed to get from the hub and I want to go visit my doggos, it's just easier if I do this. Now that I have the jetpack, I can also just fly up here. But sometimes it's nice to just use the zip line. It's definitely still a work in progress back here, but I'm happy the way it's coming along so far. Alright, let's head over to this section and let me show you the last little piece that I've made. Alright, so I've just got this really little setup. This is another kind of really random room where I didn't have a ton of space, so I'm going to put kind of the more random smaller setups. Like when I do reanimated Sam, I'll probably put that in here because I won't need too many machines for it. But this right here is making portable miners. I've been wanting to make these for so long. In so many playthroughs, you get that recipe to show up just all the time. And I wanted a reason to make them because I just want to make all the things, right? I mean, part of the fun of the game. But with them not stacking at all, it just made absolutely no sense to me. I couldn't justify it. I was never going to use them. I was just going to make, 1 a minute and they were just going to get sunk. But now with dimensional depots and the fact that they actually stack, it's amazing. I love it. And I think the recipe changed. I don't know. I couldn't actually tell you what it was before 1.0. I never actually used it. But the fact that it only needs 4 steel pipes and 4 iron plates means that we can use only iron ingots. Because to make 4 iron plates, I only need 6 iron ingots. And if we come over to this one, to make 4 steel pipes, I only need 16 iron ingots. So I needed 22 iron ingots. I had an extra 28 being sunk on the other side of the factory, so I just did another load balancer, split off and get the 22 that I needed. And then from there, I just used a 3/11 and 8/11 blueprint to split it between the 16 and the 6. And this is only making 1 a minute, but let's be honest, that is more than enough. And sooner than later, I'm just going to be sinking these. But the fact that they're in my dimensional depot now, and whenever I go to build a miner, I don't have to place down a workshop and build these things ever again is just, so great. Such a little change, but so huge. I didn't want to completely cover up the crash site, so I decided to do this in this corner. So I just kind of roped it off with some railing so we can look down at our fallen comrade or clone. It was probably me. How many times have I crashed on this planet? Alright, and last little setup that I think is done for now. I still had a whole bunch of rifle ammo that I haven't used. I had like an entire container full. And now that I have the electronics built, I grabbed a bunch of the high-speed connectors and turned a whole bunch into the homing rifle ammo, which is, here we are. So now I have a few thousand of that and a dimensional depot, because if you saw my exploration video at the beginning of the playthrough, you know I need this. I'm so bad at first-person shooters. And for where I'm going to be going in the next episode, I'm going to need it. Which basically leaves just one major part left for this episode. And for that, I'll meet you on the roof. As you've probably noticed, there's definitely a whole bunch of parts that aren't completely finished. After, I don't know, 5-10 hours of doing decorating and polishing up things, adding the supports to my belt buses so they're not just floating tunnels everywhere, I felt like it was good enough for now. The base is definitely not done. I've just got the spice elevator just plopped on top, and this doesn't have a roof because I'm pretty sure I'm going to add a third level, but then again, I'm not totally sure. I only plan things out so far ahead. The rest of the time I'm just winging it. Whatever looks good at the time is what I go with. But this right here is the point in the save that I'm going to upload to the Google Drive. So if you want to check out anything for yourself, or you just want a jumping off point for the end game that has pretty much everything else automated and in storage with dimensional depots, knock yourself out. So now it's that time. Alright. Do my traditional storage boxes. Oh, I actually need 3. That works. There we go. Empty all my stuff. And we can delete these ones. And let's turn it all in. Phase 4, here we come. Thanks, Ada. Always such words of encouragement. Let's send it. I'm gonna say this every time. They did such a cool job with these new animations. Beautiful. 3 down, 2 to go.
So be sure to take on Phase 4 with efficiency and competence.
Efficiency, I can strive for. Competency, well, I guess we'll see. Look at those familiar icons at the top. I know those ones well. Thankfully, these are all a fraction of what they used to be. Phase 3 completed. We're in Phase 4. That is mission complete. Thank you for joining me on my world tour. Like I mentioned, if you want to check this out, the link to it will be in the pinned comments. This is going to be a long phase. So the very next thing is going to be aluminum. That means headed out to the swamp. So look forward to that. And thanks for watching.